This area has always, prided itself on its agricultural and seafood and nature. And people put a lot of value on that. I mean, I have a 10-acre farmette adjacent to an undeveloped stretch of the Atlantic coastline. You go to an inlet in Florida, you got 50 boats going through the inlet every morning. You go out here and you're lucky if you see another boat some days. A pandemic destroyed all the eelgrass from the North Sea and Europe over to New England down to North Carolina. Came back everywhere else because there were low salinity refuge areas that provided seeds to reseed the area. We didn't have any seed refuges and there wasn't any seed sourced, so it disappeared and stayed gone basically. The grass stabilized all the sediments in the bottom, and when the grass disappeared, all that sediment along with all the oysters washed in the channels and filled them up until they started planting the grass. I saw a presentation JJ gave of some work he did in the York River where he showed the track of the boat across the bottom. You could see it in the aerial photo where they had thrown the seeds overboard. And I went, this guy's got something here.
Seeking funding and getting funding is always a challenge because a lot of people didn't fully appreciate the fact that what we were trying to do could be accomplished. Laura is the director of the Coastal Zone Management Program funded by the National Oceanographic Atmospheric Administration. She felt that this was worth the gamble, and in the late 90s began her support through our program.
Got a call from Bob asking if we had some money to do a little investigative research on SAV restoration. And so we started this program that we called our Seaside Heritage Program. And it was about the eelgrass and the oysters, but also sustainable industries on the eastern shore that depend on natural resources flourishing.
Seagrasses, or what we refer to in this region as submerged aquatic vegetation, or SAV, are true flowering plants. They are these fabulous underwater prairies that support numerous animals and plants, and they are very, very important in sequestering large amounts of carbon in the sediments. One of our interests was, can we restore seagrasses, first to understand why they were declining, and can we begin a program to restore them? So we are out here in the Chesapeake Bay. We are collecting flowering shoots of eelgrass that have seeds. So when we first started doing this work, we were basically collecting these flowering shoots by hand, and that was okay if we wanted just a few seeds, but since we wanted to enhance our seed-based restoration work with a lot of seeds, the only way we were going to do that would be to create a machine that would cut the plants and give us the numbers of seeds that we would need. And these are the seeds that we are going to be using for our seed-based restoration work on the seaside of the eastern shore.
So what we're doing today is getting the seeds that we need for our seagrass restoration project. So what we've learned from our research is that seeds that are really good fall very fast. So in order to separate a lot of the good seeds from the seeds that are not so good, we drop them in this flume, and all the good seeds fall very quickly to the bottom. And so anything that's not very good is going to go past a certain point on the tank. And so what we'll have is essentially all the good seeds falling here and all the bad seeds falling further down the tank because they're lighter. So all we have for our restoration work will be basically all very good seeds.
Because we know that seeds germinate in a period around mid-November, we put the seeds out, literally broadcasting them as we do from the boat in either late September, early October, about a month before they germinate. And then what we'll do is come out in the spring and we'll look at all the seedlings that have developed from those, and then from there those plants will grow and spread the way they've done for millions of years. Okay, so here we are in the spring. The seeds were put out in October. They germinated in November and have been growing very slowly through the winter and early spring. So in order for us to understand how successful the seed germinations were, we go out like we do now, and in the plot that we put the seeds out earlier this fall, we count the number of seedlings in the plot, and that will give us an idea of how many seedlings were successful for the winter. From those seedlings, they will grow and survive through the summer and produce plants for future growth and future seedlings. We just finished looking at the seedlings in this plot, and it looks like we had successful germination and establishment. Looks like maybe between 5 and 10% of the seeds that we put out this past fall have germinated, and we'll just watch this plot for the future and see how it does. The challenges weren't as great as we had expected. The surprise was how quickly these plants developed and spread to these areas that had not been seeded.
When we started working here in 1997, it was zippo, no grass at all. In the 20 years that we've been doing this, the grass has spread to now, I think in 2018, 8,800 acres.
I don't know that we ever even dared dream as big as what's actually happened on the seaside of the Eastern Shore. So it's just been one of the most rewarding projects I think I've ever worked on. It's fantastic.
And there's nothing like this in the world. Very few people have ever been able to say that they've seen an eelgrass area come back the way we have seen here in just 20 years, literally overnight. That's what, it really was. It was literally almost overnight.
Yeah.
And it's continuing to grow. As we saw the success that we were having, we began to ask the question, well, if we get seagrass back to some level, could we even think of restoring the bay scallop? The bay scallop was a big commercial fishery in the 20s and early 30s when eelgrass was very abundant. And when eelgrass declined, that whole fishery basically declined also and never recovered. So in the late 2008-9 period, we began an effort to collect some bay scallops from North Carolina, brought them up to Virginia, put them in quarantine, and started raising them, spawning them, and using those small scallops to plant in cages to see whether we could have a project that would lead to the restoration of bay scallops. And that effort has continued today.
I don't care if they develop a commercial fishery out of them, but I would like to see a recreational fishery, because I'd like to go get a few to eat if we can get them back out there. But it's such a weird animal. They only live 2 years, and it's going to take a bigger effort. The grass just exploded. The scallops have been a little harder to get going, but we're putting a lot of effort in it, so see if we're successful. In 5 years, I would hope to see much more grass in the coastal bays with more productivity, more forage fish, more happy birds. If we get the scallops back, I'm looking forward to eating a few of them myself. I think what was important to the overall project was we sort of brought a community linked with the volunteers to be involved with something that, this is the most successful eelgrass restoration that's ever been done. 9,000 acres out there now in less than 20 years' time is phenomenal. I never would have thought 30 years ago we'd bring the grass back in my lifetime. And, it's happened so fast, it's got my head spinning almost. Gives you a warm feeling to be involved with a successful, a tremendously successful restoration project.